Good afternoon, everyone. We are going to start the presentation at 5:05 p.m. Again, welcome to the public information meeting for State Road A1A Mobility Improvement Project. Good evening, everyone. We are going to start the presentation at 5:05 p.m. Thank you. All right. The time is 5:05 p.m. now, and we're gonna begin the presentation. Good evening, everyone. Again, welcome to the public information meeting for State Road A1A Mobility Improvement Project.
Can you speak into the mic?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
The financial project ID is 441360-1-52-01. My name is Vinod Basnet. I am the project manager with Department of Transportation, District 4. I would like to thank everyone who have joined this meeting, either virtually using GoToWebinar platform or by calling in, or by and those who are present here in person. This public meeting will be in two segments. First, we are going to do this presentation that we have prepared, and after that, there will be a Q&A session. In the next few slides, our consultant project manager will show how you can ask questions, how you can submit your questions, and then we'll also talk about the project design. This presentation is recorded, so it will be posted on the project website. The link to the project website was provided to you in the flyer, and also the PDF copy of this presentation is on the project website that you can download. Slide 2, please. At this time, I would like to introduce our project team again. My name is Vinod Basnet with Florida Department of Transportation, Design Project Manager. We have Billy Canedo here, who is FDOT Communications Officer. And we also have Grace Dukanis, who is our Assistant Deputy Communication Officer. And at this time, I would like to hand this over to Mr. Amin Ahmed from Stanley Consultant, and he's going to introduce his team and also go ahead with other presentations. Thanks, Amin.
Thank you, Vinod. From the consultant side, I'm Amin Ahmed, I'm the project manager, and also with me, I have today Renaud Olivier, one of our drainage engineers, and he's actually joining us virtually. In person, we have Cindy Kendrick also, and Liliana Perez is our public involvement specialist. We also have other support staff with us today, assisting us today and for today's meeting. Next slide. Slide 3, please. This meeting is authorized to be held virtually as well as in person. We're presented in both formats, virtual and in person simultaneously, to provide an opportunity to all the public to participate in whichever format is more accessible. This also allows all attendees to participate from different locations. We're using the GoToWebinar platform for this meeting, and there is no cost to the public to dial in or log in to participate in today's meeting. The next 5 slides, I will cover the meeting agenda, the meeting format, along with other pertinent meeting information. Starting with slide 10, we'll discuss the project information. Slide 4, please. The format of this meeting will be a formal presentation, followed by a Q&A session, question answer. You'll have the option to listen to this meeting on your computer or portable device. And if you prefer to listen by phone, please select the telephone in the audio panel, in the control panel, and dial in using the information in the audio meeting information box displayed on the top right of your screen. You can also dial in by landline phone. The phone number to call in is 914-614-3221, and the access code is 451-010-234 with hashtag. The formal presentation will be available for viewing after the meeting and on the same link that was provided to you in the meeting in the flyer. It will also be posted in the project website. Next, slide 5, please. As mentioned earlier, the meeting will be conducted in 2 parts. First, the presentation, and followed by the Q&A session. Participants in person are encouraged to fill out comment cards provided in the sign-in table and hand it to any of our meeting coordinators. GoToWebinar participants can type in their questions or comments into the comment question feature at any time during the meeting. Our team will answer your question or comment during the Q&A session. If you happen to experience technical difficulties regarding GoToWebinar, there's a toll-free number which you may call 1-833-851-8340. Slide 6, please. Again, the department invites your comments and questions, so please use one or more of the comment options that are shown on the screen. The public comment period will remain open through August 11th, 2021, and this is in order to be included in the public meeting summary. Having said that, the project team is always available to answer questions after the comment period. When you log off from today's meeting, you'll receive a short survey that will be sent to you via email. We hope you will complete the survey and provide some feedback about the meeting. You'll also receive a follow-up email within 24 to 48 hours with a link to the recording of today's meeting. If you attend in person, the survey is in the back of the comment card, and the recording link will also be posted on the project website. Slide 7, please. Public notice for this public meeting, including information on how to access the meeting platform, was provided in the invitational flyer that was sent to property owners living within 300 feet of the project corridor. Notice was also posted in the FDOT public meeting website. Other notification methods include posting in Florida Administrative Register, emails to elected officials, and social media. Slide 8, please. The Florida Department of Transportation is required to comply with various non-discrimination laws and regulations, including Title VI of the Civil Rights Acts of 1964. Public participation is solicited without regard to race, color, national origin, age, sex, religion, disability, or family status. Persons wishing to express concerns about Title VI may do so by contacting either the Florida Department of Transportation District 4 Title VI coordinator, and her name is Sharon Singhagen, and her address is 3400 West Commercial Boulevard, Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and her phone number is 954-777-4190, and the statewide Title VI coordinator is Jacqueline Paramore. She can be reached at 850-414-4753. Next slide 9, please. At this time, I'd like to acknowledge the elected officials that are present here today. I'm reading out the names: Mr. Chip Lamarca, and also we have Commissioner Jane Ricey, and we have Irene Kirkday, Vice Mayor. I believe we have Commissioner Jane Ricey online and the remaining in person. If there are other elected officials who would like to be recognized later, we'll have that opportunity as we move forward. Slide 10, please. Okay, this graphic illustrates the project limits. The project begins just at the north end of the southern town limit of Hillsborough Beach and continues north to Southeast 3rd Street, and then within the city of Deerfield Beach in Broward County. Slide 11, please. This graphic illustrates the project length. As you can see, it starts just north of the Hillsborough Inlet Bridge, continues north, and what you see in the red outline is the limits of the project, and the project actually continues northwards. What I wanted to show in this graphic is the road raising segment that we're proposing, and that's highlighted in the yellow dimension, as you can see. Slide 12, please. This is a continuation of the project. In blue highlight, we're showing the segment on the west side where we're adding curb and gutter and sidewalk on the west side. And as you can see, the project continues past the city of Deerfield Beach limits and ends at Southeast 3rd Street. Slide 13, please. This slide illustrates an overview of the proposed improvements that we're proposing for this project. We're paving the existing travel lanes and paved shoulders. We're providing continuous paved shoulders for bicycle usage. So the bike lanes will be designated. We're also proposing sidewalk and curb and gutter on the west side from Opal Towers to Southeast 10th Street. There are several mid-block crossings today on the project corridor. We are adding rectangular rapid flashing beacon signs to enhance the safety of the mid-block crossings. And finally, we're raising the low-grade segments in the south segment that are currently experiencing king tide flooding. We'll be raising that segment, and we'll get into more details as we move forward in our presentation. Slide 14, please. This is a before-after photograph, a concept that shows the bike lanes will be continuous and it will be paved with smooth surface. And this is in line with the mobility improvements that we have in our project. Slide 15, please. As I mentioned earlier, we're also introducing a rectangular rapid flashing beacon sign. And essentially it's solar powered. It's pedestal. It's got a push button that will be activated through a pedestrian usage. Within the town of Hillsborough Beach, there are 5 existing mid-block crossings. And first one is located at 1043 Hillsborough Mile. The second one at 1057 Hillsborough. Third, 1167 Hillsborough. And then the 1221 Hillsborough. And finally, at the address of 1225 Hillsborough Mile near the Royal Flamingo Villa. So these are the 5 locations within the town. Slide 16, please. As we continue to the Deerfield Beach limits, there are 3 additional mid-block crossings. One at 991 South Ocean Drive, 596 South Ocean Drive, 660 South Ocean Drive. And similarly, we're proposing these RRFB signs. Slide 17, please. This graphic illustrates the low segments that we're raising on the southern segment of the project. As you can see, we are proposing to raise the road at the center point from the existing 2.1 NAVD elevation to 3.3 elevation. So essentially, we're raising it by 1.2 feet at the middle. And we're also sloping the road, monopitching, from the higher east side, sloping towards the lower west side, towards the intercoastal. The benefits of this improvements is that it will easily dissipate the king tide flooding situation. And also during heavy rainfall, the water will flow towards the intercoastal easily. One of the improvements is that we're removing the low spots in the road and we're raising the height and also flattening the surface. By flattening the surface, the water will not accumulate. It'll roll off the travel lanes into the intercoastal as it is today. This design will eliminate those pond-ins while mimicking the existing flow patterns, as I mentioned. Slide 18, please. In order for us to raise our road and harmonize with adjacent property, we're requesting license agreements. And basically, the intent is to allow proper blending or harmonization with the adjacent property as we're raising the road. The harmonization or blending may have some potential landscape impacts, and it is essentially benefiting the owner. If the license agreement is not signed, obviously the driveways can be raised at a later date by the owner if that's chosen. But essentially, the DOT is providing an opportunity to cover that harmonization cost. And a public property owner outreach is in progress currently with the license agreements. Next slide, please, slide 19. This is a graphic of a sample area where we're raising the road. The figure shows the aerial view of the southern segment of the project. And essentially, it's between the address of 935 Hillsborough Mile to 1025 Hillsborough Mile. Of course, this graphic is just a snapshot of the area where we're raising the road. In this graphic, we're showing the roadway improvements, and also the driveway restoration areas. If you can see in the blue highlight, that's essentially the limits of the driveway restoration. And you'll note that it goes beyond the right-of-way line. So that's where the license agreements comes into play, where the DOT project will essentially restore the pavement on the outside the right-of-way line for the driveway connections to be smooth. Similarly, on the west side, on the yellow highlight, there are areas of harmonization that are necessary when we raise the road. Slide 20, please. Okay, this is a enlarged graphic of the roadway section where we're raising the road. I wanted to point out that we're introducing 12-foot lanes and 4-foot bike lanes for this cross section, for this typical section. And this is from 935 Hillsborough Mile to 1021 Hillsborough Mile. Slide 21, please. This is the segment where we're introducing sidewalk and curb and gutter on the west side. And again, the blue highlighted area are areas where we're restoring driveways, and the orange highlight is where we're restoring or blending or harmonizing adjacent land. Slide 22, please. This cross-sectional graphic illustrates the sidewalk portion that we're introducing on the west side, as well as the bike lanes. Because of right-of-way constraints, we can only fit 11-foot travel lanes and 4-foot bike lanes. Slide 23, please. As we move forward, we enter a location where the city of Deerfield Beach is, and for this particular segment, we're proposing paving only and introducing bike lanes. Slide 24, please. And again, this is a enlarged graphic of the cross section that shows the improvements as paving only. And it also shows the 11-foot travel lanes and 5-foot bike lanes. The city of Deerfield Beach requested that we introduce 5-foot paved shoulders for bike usage and narrow the lanes from 12 to 11. Slide 25, please. The construction will be done in phases, and the reason is to reduce the effects of construction on the community. Temporary single lane closures will be required during off-peak hours. Two-way traffic will be maintained at all times. Flaggers will be present at work during the time of construction. And the driveway and the boat dock access areas will be maintained at all times during construction. Slide 26, please. The construction is estimated to start at the summer of 2022, and the estimated completion date for the project is fall of 2023. The construction cost estimate is about $6 million. Slide 27, please. The department encourages safe travels at all times. This is a banner for the month of July. We'd like to share with you this safety banner. Please slow down, stay cool, arrive safe. Safety tips on driving and safe summer travel, hurricane preparedness plans, pedestrian safety, and many more information can be found at the Florida Department of Highway Safety and Motor Vehicles website. Slide 28, please. Project documents will be available to download from the project website, as stated in the meeting invitation. And the project plans and other documents will also be available. Slide 29, please. Again, the department invites your comments and questions, so please use one or more comment options shown on the screen. The public comment period will remain open till August 11th, 2021, in order for your comments to be documented in the hybrid public meeting summary report. We would also welcome your comments anytime during the duration of the project. The recording link will also be posted on the project website. Slide 30, please. At this time, I'd like to acknowledge any additional elected officials. We have Mr. Todd Grosky, Commissioner, also online. Welcome. At this time, I'd like to call Binod. Deb, I'm sorry. Deb Tarrant, Mayor Tarrant is also present. I'd like to acknowledge her as well. And I'd like to turn it over to Binod for remaining slides.
Thank you, Amin, for the presentation. We will now shift to Q&A session. Before we open the forum, we would like to provide you instruction on how to submit your questions again. As we mentioned earlier, you can type the questions using the GoToWebinar app question pane at any time during the presentation, and also write your questions on the comment slip provided to you here in the auditorium. Project team will try to answer all questions today, but if any questions require additional research, project team will contact you and respond to you in writing at a later date. Additionally, the complete set of questions and answer received by August 11, 2021 will be posted on the project website provided in the flyer. Next slide, please. In this slide, we will discuss how you can ask questions verbally. For virtual participant using GoToWebinar app, on the right side of your screen, you can see GoToWebinar control panel. Please click on the arrow button to expand the panel. To submit your question in writing, please type in the question pane and submit. To ask question verbally, please click the raise hand button shown at the bottom of the panel. Once the hand is raised, organizer will acknowledge you and ask you to unmute yourself. Please click on the microphone button to let it turn green, and you should be able to speak. For virtual participant calling in using the phone, please press *86 and you will be unmuted. Please announce yourself and we will acknowledge you to speak. For in-person participant, please submit the speaker request card to one of the meeting coordinators, and then we will ask you to speak. To ensure all participants are served, we request all the speakers to limit their questions for maximum of 2 minutes only, and allow other participants time to ask their question. And first, we are going to go over the written questions that we have received, and then after that, we will go and take the verbal questions. What we are also going to do is we are going to take turn between participants that are attending virtually and in person and participants. So when we get to the verbal part of Q&A, we'll just take a turn. And we have our expert here. And Roberto, if we have received any question, you can go ahead and read the questions for us. Thank you.
Okay. I'll start with a question from Barbara. I know it's an echo. Bear with me. What is being done to address the drainage issue?
Okay, let me start with the answer, and we also have our drainage engineers here who will be jump in and assist me in the response. We're essentially raising the road. Okay, so at the southern segment, there's a flooding occurring because of 2 reasons. One is the king tide, what we're talking intercoastal, and also the heavy rainfall. So currently there are dips in the road, like a bowl in several locations. So it's actually, water is being collected in those areas, and there's the dissipation to the intercoastal is very slow. What we're doing is we're raising the road and creating a flat profile, and we're also creating a slant to let the water flow to the intercoastal. I don't know if Ernesto wants to add anything to that.
Okay. This could be long, but I will try to be as brief as possible. No? Mike, please.
Okay, there are, on the southern portion of the project, there are drainage issues. On the west side, mainly because of the seawall that was built that is retaining water, impeding the outflow of the runoff. So that retaining wall, the objective was to avoid that the king tides flow or encroach into the roadway and on the roadway side. Yes, it reaches that objective, but at the same time, is cutting the outfall for the runoff that is generated on the roadway and the offside properties on the east side. By raising the roadway, we will assure that the roadway will be dry, but the ponding between the seawall and the roadway should remain until outfall will be provided to that area. It won't be as bad as today, but it will remain. You are also scattered ponding on the east side of the roadway, mainly because the original swells have been filled, they are overgrown, they are vegetated with landscape, etc., etc. So the lowest portion, the depression on the roadway pavement, those don't have outfall to the east as they had 100 years ago or 90. That road was built in 1927. So for sure at that time it has swell, etc., etc. Everything, all the drainage has practically disappeared. So when you have a heavy rainfall, the water fill up the depression on the east side of the roadway, overtops the roadway towards the west side, and then there is no picture showing ponding on the west side, so we could infer that the runoff flows longitudinal until it can go into the intracoastal. But those pondings on the east side are due to the physical condition of the roadway with the depression and no swell. By doing the monopitch, rising the roadway and provide a slope towards from east to west, we will have a slightly deeper swells on the east side that will retain more water. We won't have water on the pavement, and whenever the proposed swells on the east side fills up, then overtop the roadway the same as today will be less amount of water, and as per my preliminary calculation, that flow over the pavement will be about 1/8 of an inch. So you won't see the current 3-4 inches ponding. You may see 1/8 of an inch running across the roadway. That's the way we are dealing with the drainage on the critical portion on the south side. Thank you.
Thank you, Ernesto. Next question.
Okay. Next question from Ron Johnson. Can a crosswalk be added at a location of southernmost sidewalk close to Opal Towers?
As of now, we're just adding improvements to existing crosswalks. No new crosswalks are being introduced. To introduce a new mid-block crossing, there needs to be a study done. And typically, when the department constructs a mid-block crossing, it has to be from one public access to another public access. And it has to go through a study, a lighting study, and also there has to be curb ramps on both sides. So it requires a little bit more study involved. And there is always the choice of the town introducing new mid-block crossings, but that will have to go through the Department of Transportation for approval. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Next one. It appears that the southbound lane will be the lowest elevation in the project. What is the elevation change of the southbound bike lane?
So the question is about bike lanes?
On the southbound bike lane,
Okay.
what is the elevation change?
On the southern segment, correct? Okay. I think, Cindy, would you have an answer to the elevation at the edge of the paved shoulder? To 15 inches? Okay. So it'll be 15 inches higher than what it is today. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. At the center portion of the road, it will have more than that. We'll have, but, okay. Thank you.
Can you repeat that answer again so that everyone can hear?
Okay, so to repeat the answer to the question of the bike elevation of the bike lane, it's 15 inches higher than what it is today. Thank you. Next question.
How would the property owners know what items need to be removed that are within FDOT right of way? Within FDOT right of way. This was a question by Max Serda.
Okay, so right-of-way encroachment letters have been sent out. Any private objects within DOT right-of-way that are in the way of construction are being asked to be removed by the owner. If anyone wants to.
Yeah, to add to what Amin said, the right-of-way encroachment letter have been sent, but what we would encourage the property owners is there is a contact information provided in the letter. If you could give us a call, and then we can answer you more specifically about what are to be moved in that area, and so that we can work with you on that one and get the information to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question.
Another question by Mac. How will DOT address flooding along seawalls caused by road elevation where the seawall was constructed prior to the new codes require one-way valves?
Okay, I think the question is related to the seawall and the need for introducing one-way valves. That's the question.
Yes, the question is specifically, how will DOT address flooding along the seawalls?
Okay, that's a great question. Yeah, without the openings in the seawall, we're probably going to see some accumulation of water, because essentially after heavy rainfall, the water flows towards the intercoastal. But with the seawalls being raised, the water is essentially going to be blocked and will remain there until it dissipates. Introducing those one-way flap gates in the seawalls, and I understand that there's a seawall ordinance currently in place for new seawalls to provide such an opening. So if there's water accumulation due to heavy rainfall, it'll go only one direction. It'll go towards the intercoastal. Thank you. Next comment.
We have one more. Will DOT staff be at the town hall to answer specific questions about harmonizing and right-of-way concerns?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
The question is, will DOT be at the town hall?
The DOT be at the town hall? At the town hall?
At the town hall.
During the harmonization.
So the question is whether the DOT will be conducting a town hall to discuss the. Is that the question? Could you repeat that again, please? Sorry.
Yeah, I'll repeat it. Will DOT staff be at town hall to answer specific questions about harmonizing and right-of-way concerns?
Are we going to go to their town hall?
Right.
Meeting to answer questions about it?
Yeah. if, what we would like is for anyone that has a question, specific question, if you can email us, there's our email address provided. So if you can contact us, we can meet with you and explain, the things that are going to happen at your property. And if there is a need to have a town hall, we can definitely do that also. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Any additional comments?
No.
Okay, so at this time, we can entertain comments from the gentleman and ladies and gentlemen who are present here today.
Here's a speaker card.
Okay, so here's the I have a speaker card, Mr. David Rovinesi.
Yes.
Hello.
If I may, just a couple of questions. It's a long time coming. I'm glad it's coming.
Sure, sure.
We have a microphone over there in the back.
Oh, the mic, okay.
So that way-
Okay, yeah.
My name is David Ravanese. I'm the president of the Port Rainier Condo Association. And we have the the northernmost condominiums on A1A. We have two on the west side, two on the east side. And I understand you're going to widen the road. I understand that. And you have a 5-foot bike lane. How much of our property would you have to take going east or west, or you're doing it on both sides? When will we know that? Also, it's a $6 million project. Is this going to be paid by the county or the state, or will the residents of Hillsborough Beach be required to also pay? So the tax bill, as we've had assessments on renourishment of the beach, etc. And I'm just curious as to our property. How many feet you plan on taking on either side to widen the road and have a bike lane?
Okay, good question. There will be no right-of-way position, no takes on private land. The purpose of the license agreement is just to have temporary access to blend in with the proposed improvements better. So a contractor will go in up to a certain limit within your private property and make sure the transition is smooth as it connects to the raised road, or if we're adding curb and gutter and sidewalk, we want to make sure that we're tying in properly to the driveways. So that's the extent of the it's not a right-of-way take, it's just an agreement for temporary access beyond right-of-way line to smoothen things out, making it better. And I guess your second question was related to, would you repeat your second part of the question?
Yeah, in fact, the first one was on the bike lane, as far as going to the either side, how many feet you plan on taking of our property?
Right.
And the other question was, are we paying for it? Are the residents of Hillsborough Beach paying for it? And I think that was the only two that I was concerned with.
Okay.
You'll be taking some of our property.
No.
Won't we?
No.
Let me.
How are you gonna widen it? How are you gonna widen the road and extend the bike road, bike path without taking any property?
First of all, in that area, we have the Department of Transportation has 40 feet right away. Out of that, only 24 feet is paved right now, and then you see shoulders. So we are going to add 4 feet on each side. So and we will still have additional 4 feet on each side of right away. So there you will see that we have gone outside of the roadway, but there is a right of way, actually 40 feet, so 20 feet from the center line on each side. So that's a DOT right.
20 feet from the center line either side?
Yes. Yeah.
So
And
in fact, if I may, so you're telling me that it won't impact our property at all?
correct. So as a construction, what the license agreement that we also discussed is right now your driveway is connecting to existing elevation of the roadway, right? So once we raise the roadway, if we need to slope it down, and if we go all the way to our right of way, you may feel a little bit of bump when you come out of your property. So what DOT is doing is that if you give us access to go a little bit inside to smoothen your driveway at our cost, DOT's cost, and once we're done, we will leave that property for you.
But in fact, if I may on that, we have two driveways that go down. We have the egress and ingress. And if you're gonna raise the highway, a lot of rainwater,
Thank you, I'm sorry. If I may, if we have two driveways, we have underground parking on either side. So if you're gonna raise the road, it's gonna impact us when it comes to the flow of water. Unless you're gonna install more catch basins or sewers or whatever. It appears that if the road is raised, when it rains, when we have heavy rain, it's gonna flow right into our parking garage. In fact, you have to see our property first. We have buildings, we have 4 driveways. One to drive into the underground parking and one to come out. So we're going down and then we're coming up. So it could have a negative impact on our garage if you're gonna raise the highway.
We're actually raising the road in the southern segment, where the king tide is happening at the intercoastal, right adjacent to intercoastal. That's where we're actually raising the road. And further north, as we go near the condo complexes, all we're doing is adding a sidewalk and a curb and gutter to introduce the sidewalk.
I just want to have it clear, because the people who are watching this or on Zoom, from my condo association, are going to say, where's the water going to go when you raise the road where we have 4 driveways that go down? And it's a concern. And I think that has to be addressed.
Yeah, the water currently is naturally flowing through the driveways, going towards the intercoastal, and that drainage pattern will continue. So we're not going to add any more extra water than what it is. And the road raising in the curb and gutter segment is very minimal compared to the southern segment where we're significantly raising the road. So the impacts to drainage at the curb and gutter section will be minimal, if any. Actually, we're not making it any worse. We're actually making it better. We're proposing closed flumes, their drainage structures, as you pointed out, and that will help direct the water towards the coastal. And
Well, we have a catch basin, on the driveways.
Yeah, I think you said your address is 1236 Hillsborough Mile, right? Is that 1236 Hillsborough Mile?
1236.
Yeah, 1236.
And also there's 1237, 1239.
Yeah.
But the office is at 1236, that's why I put that.
Yeah, if we can go back to the slide where we showed the project limits. Because what I wanted to show you is where we are raising the roadway. So, yes. So I think that is.
We're at the very end.
Yeah, so the road raising segment is in between 931 and 1039 Hillsborough Mile. So your property is north of that. So there's no road raising on your property area. So I don't think that you will have, I'm pretty sure your property is just north of 1039 Hillsborough Mile. So there's no road raising. So that issue will not be, you will not have that issue.
Thank you.
Yeah.
thank you. Next comment.
My name is, my name is Richard McCarty, and I live at 921 Avon. I'm the first property that you're gonna come to, coming over the bridge to the area.
Yeah.
Okay. Our property, we have I believe, the largest lot on the west side of A1A in the town. And it does not flood currently, and it has never flooded currently.
Okay.
Now, that being said, we have concerns about how you're gonna deal with, how you're gonna deal with flooding on A1A, and will it now flood our property as it comes off A1A towards the west? How will that be maintained? I mean, where do you go with all this water? I mean, the reality is that the more you elevate the road and slant it,
if you're not going to put in some sort of plumbing on the west side of A1A, to make this water go away and pump it out of there, you're gonna flood my land on the west side.
There's currently seawall along.
There is no current seawall.
No seawall.
It has a riprap wall over there, which at the time had put riprap in there because it would dissipate the energy coming from the boat blades. That was a requirement. So, it's funny how municipalities and bureaucracy changes over the years as to what's required. That being said, it'll be interesting to see, and we're gonna need to meet with someone out there to say, okay, how does this really impact us individually? Now, Opal Towers, for example, is well outside the area to the north. I mean, that's not an issue. And I understand he has concerns, but in the stuff that was sent to us, it said it's only gonna go up to LeBaron, I think it was. And LeBaron is well south of the Opal Towers. That being the case, there are my property and 2 or 3 north of me are not impacted by any sort of flooding on it when it's never been flooded, been through all of Hurricane Andrews and so forth.
Okay.
Not an issue. Now, as you put this actually together, I can't see how this, number one, I can't see how it benefits me. And I can see where it can be very detrimental to what I have. I mean, and then you look at, if you may, look at the actual bridge itself. The bridge itself is not being expanded. So therefore, trying to widen the road with the expectation that when you get to the Hillsborough Inlet Bridge, everything stops. I'm not sure how that
Okay.
fits together in your plan.
So your address is 921?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so,
Right next to Hillsborough Club. The Hillsborough Club is 901.
okay, and there's no current flooding today, I mean, for
No.
Kingstown, okay, so,
Never-
okay, so we're not, okay, the good news is we're not doing anything at that segment. We're not raising the road, we're not creating the modification at that section.
Well, it would appear by your drawing that you
Okay, so 931 is when we're starting the.
Yeah, 931 is where we are gonna start raising the roadway,
are
not
not raising in front of 921.
correct.
No.
Okay, so the messages that we got, for example, that you were asking about us to remove things which were within the setback. That is, we just throw all that away.
Exactly, it won't impact you.
No, there is a bike lane.
That's like yours the same way.
No, there is a bike, we are proposing a bike lane, right?
Paved shoulders.
Paved
Yes,
shoulders,
it was
so-
paved for
Well,
both
there's
paved.
already one there.
Yeah.
But the reality is that, it's 4 foot wide.
Yeah.
Because once you get to the bridge ain't going anywhere, so you can't expand something you can't deal with, so, it'll be interesting to see. So 931 is where you're gonna start,
Yes,
and you're gonna go north from 931.
yes, correct. Yep. You're-
No, that
Yeah,
works.
931, I just wanted to kind of clarify this. 931 is where we are gonna start raising the roadway,
Okay.
right? The project limit begins at just north of the bridge.
Yeah.
So there, we are proposing a,
Property north of the bridge.
yeah, we are proposing bike lane, and so that means there will be some work being done on the roadway. And so for that reason, there may be, we may have seen some, encroachment, right-of-way encroachment, and that's why you got the letter. But what we can do is we can sit with you separately to discuss those property, and we can show you what are the improvements that we are asking you to remove. And it may or may not be that everything has to be removed. So we can discuss with you separately. So if you can email us, and then we can go over.
Have anything. I mean,
Yeah, so,
I was on the city commission for 26 years, so when as all these things that came around,
Yeah.
I made sure that my property complied in every way possible so that we
Yeah.
could no issue. So when I got your letter, which I understand is a boilerplate, sort of, send letters to everybody type thing, I went out and I looked, I can't see what would need to be removed, but if you're not even gonna raise the road, well, now that makes a big difference.
yeah, your property, based on, our plan, it doesn't look like we are.
That's wonderful. We had concerns about the seawall being 24 inches higher than it's supposed to be now would appear to us to create a tremendous bathtub effect. As you would say, the reverse scuppers are a good idea, but we all know that reality is that they're going to clog and be full of trash all the time. So the fact is that there's going to be a problem with those. I mean, it sounds nice to say that in this environment, but reality is that when water goes to backflow through those, probably won't come exactly the way you hope it might. It's just the way of the world. Just, you gotta be trash and crap out constantly. So, it's perfect. If we're not affected, doesn't get any better than that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I forgot, I didn't hear the answer on who's gonna pay for it.
Oh, this is funded by the DOT, so I don't think the funding is going to
So to the driveway restoration, if that is what you are mentioning, who's going to fund the driveway restoration at your area, then that is part of the project. So DOT is going to fund that. Yes.
Hi.
Hello.
I just want to clarify something. You said it was going to go up to 1029, and then later you did say 1039. And the flooding does go up to 1039, so which is correct?
39, 1039.
1039 is correct,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay. And the other thing I wanted to ask about is in the original request, and I'm glad you explained the funding to everyone. No, the 10 people are not being assessed for this. I lost my train of thought. Short train. Oh, they're talking about topovers. The water, when it comes up, the tides actually comes up over the intercoastal. Even with good seawalls. I'm sorry. I think I broke the mic, okay. And that overtopping, I was to understand that we were going to do something with pump outs, because Miami-Dade, when they fixed their roads, did not put those with pump ups with the backflow preventers until years afterwards, and then you have to tear up the road again. So where are we going with that?
At this time, we're not introducing any pumps, right, Ernesto? We're just raising the road, flatten it, and sloping it towards the intercoastal. And there's going to be some flooding at the seawall location along the seawall, but by introducing flap gates, that flooding would go away rather quickly.
What was the word you just used? Introducing what?
Oh, yeah, I'm talking about the like flap gates on the seawall. Yeah, one-way flap gates. So water overtops the seawall, and it won't dissipate it as quickly because it's blocked by the seawall. But by having one-way valves, the water would dissipate quickly into the intercoastal. But I think with our design, the road is not going to be flooded. There's going to be some minimal flooding at the seawall because the seawall is blocking the water from going to the intercoastal. But that's minor compared to what's happening today.
I understand that part, but I think you are going to need to.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Also, I wanted to kind of add to what Amin said. The roadway elevation that we are proposing right now has been reviewed by, we have, checked the sea level rise prediction. So, and based on that, the new elevation has been proposed. So, the roadway will not flood. What is that, the 30
You're the
years?
expert, so I'll have to go along with that, but it's.
Yeah, we have coordinated with Broward County.
It's hard for me to see how it would drain when it's overtopping.
Say that again, sorry.
It's hard for me to see how it would drain out when it is overtopping, even with a one-way flat, but you're the experts, so I will accept your explanation. Thank you.
Thank you.
I would like now to allow some online attendees. I would like to recognize Mayor Deb Tarrant. She's had her hand raised. Mayor Deb Tarrant, I'm going to unmute you at this time. Please unmute yourself.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we
Yeah.
can.
Okay, great. I was having trouble communicating. My concern mirrors the Vice Mayor's concern and Mr. McCarty's concern. And I'm glad for Mr. McCarty that he is not affected, but there are properties that will be affected. And once again, I am going to make the case for drainage, including pump ups to redirect the water as opposed to just pooling against the seawalls on private properties. I have nightmares of people trying to access their docks, mosquito pools, because all that water is now going west. I understand that the swale on the east side will be filling with water. And therefore, because it's a lot lower than the road now, so we're going to have little gullies on each side of the road in that stretch. And therefore, less water will be cascading across the road and into the seawall than what we might anticipate. However, we really don't want to go through this project again. And I get the sense that the pump ups have not been fully considered. So I'm just putting another push in there for the pump ups to redirect the water so we know exactly where it's going and exactly how quickly it'll get there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Any additional comments?
Yes, we have John Carlson. I will be unmuting you, John. Please unmute yourself.
I don't have to answer these 5 questions on the spot, as some require some deep thought. Will A1A be free of saltwater intrusion?
You mean water from the west side, Atlantic, or?
No.
Okay.
Well, it doesn't matter, but I was thinking the intracoastal.
Oh, intercoastal, okay. Ernesto, would you be able to help me out on that one? Our drainage expert.
We evaluated the king tide and the projection for the future 30 years. The lowest elevation in the roadway will be higher than the highest king tide in 30 years ahead. So you may not see salt water on A1.
For how long?
Well, the design, the usual roadway design is for 30 years lifespan. So
Thank you.
we are rising the roadway to be up over the king tide 30 years from now.
If the western bike lane ever gets salt water from rising water table, please name the first and second affected addresses. Who's going to get it first and second?
Well, I don't have that information.
Mr. Carlson, what we are going to do, we are going to contact you with that specific answer. If you could, you have my email address, so if you could email that question to me, we will try to get that back to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next comment online. Any additional comments?
We have a couple of questions that came through the comment box.
Okay.
What will be the final width of the driving lanes when the project is completed? This is a question by Commissioner Jane Reiser.
Well, because the echo is hard to.
Yeah,
understand.
Can you shut your mic? Just speak normally without microphone. Because your echo is really creating an issue.
They cannot hear the title.
Yeah, so now if you can repeat the question now.
Yeah.
So the question is, what will be the final weight of the driving lanes when the project is completed?
Okay, that's a good question. From the beginning of the project limits up to Opal Towers, travel lane width will be 12 foot and the bike lane would be 4 foot. And going forward from Opal Towers, travel lanes will be 11 feet and bicycle lane will be 4 feet. Thank you.
And a sidewalk.
Oh, and of course, we'll have sidewalk on the portion where we're proposing curb and gutter. There'll be 6 foot sidewalk, 4 foot bike lanes, 11 foot travel lanes. Thanks. Thank you.
Next question by Mike. Seven, what happens to the driveway pavers that are within the right of way?
Driveway pavers that are encroaching on the current paved shoulder area will have to be removed and they'll be returned to the owner. And in place of that, we'll have a smooth asphalt surface. That's within the DOT right of way. Any impacts within private property during harmonization will be such that pavers will be preserved and reinstalled. Thank you.
We can move on to questions in the room.
Okay.
Okay.
Will the speed limit remain the same?
Yes.
Just repeat the question.
The question is, will the speed limit remain same? And the answer is yes. The speed limit stays the same. Thank you.
Roberto, do we have any additional comments, questions?
No, we have Bill Carlson questions. So have them here record.
Okay.
He asked, the same one he asked, he also typed them in.
Okay. So, Mr. Carlson, we have received your questions. We will work on that one and get back to you at a later date. So,
We have one hand raised.
okay, good. So we have one hand raised. Okay.
I would like to call Lisa to unmute herself. Lisa Japonski. I hope she can hear me. Lisa, you can hear me?
Yes, I have a question for you. I'm in an area where you're going to raise a road, and I'm a bit confused, and I agree with what the mayor said. You're going to actually take the sheet flow from the roadway and go across my private property to get to the intercoastal? Is that even ethical? Secondly, I don't understand on your drawing, it says sediment boxes. What are those representing?
What is your address in question?
949.
949. So that's
You know, I'm a utility contractor down in South Florida, and the name of the company is Rickman International. And I've done many projects where stormwater is a problem down in Miami Beach, and the solution is always stormwater pipes and pump stations. I've never heard of a sheet flow through property getting intercoastal. Never. Can you answer that question?
so.
I don't think he's doing.
In this case, we are maintaining the current runoff pattern. Today, when you have a heavy rainfall, runoff overtops the roadway from east to west and then goes longitudinally on the west side up to the current outfall to the intercoastal. We are keeping exactly the same condition.
Thank you, Ernesto. Yes, Ernesto was saying that the drainage patterns, we're not changing that. It's water currently is flowing through its intercoastal and will continue to do the same drainage pattern.
With all due respect, I don't find that correct. I understand what you're saying about the normal drainage pattern, and that's true. But when there are king tides, it comes up the other way and it flows west to east. So that's why three of us, the mayor and the last gentleman, I don't know his name, and myself have asked about pump ups because we think you're going to need them.
So, what I understand is at this time today, the crown elevation of the roadway is,
2.0 NAB.
2.0 NAPD. So when water comes, when there is a king tide, water can easily overtop the crown and go to the east side and stay there because it can, after some time, it cannot overflow back to west. What will happen is when we have this new elevation, when water tops, when it comes into the towards the roadway, it cannot top the existing, the proposed pavement elevation because that will be higher than the king tide based on the sea rise, prediction up to 30 years. So water will rise, but it will not overtop the roadway. So there is no chance for the water to get onto the roadway at all. So it will just stay there and then go back. So the issue that was happening right now, overtopping and staying on the east side, that will be eliminated based on the proposed design.
I understand what you're saying. Oh, sorry. I understand what you're saying, and I realize you worked on this project, and I'm sure you know what you're talking about. But then, as the mayor said, that leaves us with a trough of water all the way down that people couldn't get to the west side of their property. Because the king tides, as you well know, I'm sure, they last for days, sometimes weeks. They come back up for a couple of months. So, I mean, I don't think they want to swim to their west side property.
I would like to clarify something. The time between the high tide and low tide is usually 6 hours and 12 minutes plus. So you have the maximum elevation for no more than 2 or 3 hours. Currently, when you have a king tide, a normal one, it's possible that the seawater overtops the roadway and stand on the east side. But if that were only, if the ponding issue in A1A were only due to king tides, they won't be for more than 2 or 3 hours. Because yes, you will have the king tide at some time, and 2 or 3 hours later, the water is low. So the water should go out. The main issue at this time is that water is trapped and there is no outfall. One of the problem is the seawall without any type of outlet device.
Okay. I guess it's hard for me to see, but you're the expert.
For now.
Thank you. Roberto, do we have any new hand raised or questions?
Yes. We have a couple of questions from the chat, and we also have a couple of raised hands. Let's go to the chat. Question from Ron Johnson. What is the expected project timeline?
We are expecting the construction to be between 12 to 15 months duration. That's our current estimate.
Also, what is the start date?
Start date is summer of 2022.
Okay, we have from Lisa, Jankowski, why no drainage pipe with foam station? This is same question, basically. And what happens during a hurricane?
Well, I guess hurricane is an extreme condition. It's very similar to king tide, I guess. Water overtopping seawall. So our design will be such that the whatever water overtops intercoastal over the intercoastal to A1A will dissipate rather quickly, because now we have a higher roads slope in one direction and we won't have any low spots. It's going to be flat, 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 no dips in the road. So water will just simply roll straight back to their coastal.
Okay. I would like now to allow Commissioner Jane Reiser to speak. I'm going to unmute you, Commissioner. Project of the delay. We don't seem to be able, oh, yeah. Commissioner.
Are you able?
Yeah, we were. Could you speak again, please?
Yes.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
We can hear you now.
To mirror what Mayor Curtis, Vice Mayor Curtis said, as well as Mayor Tarrant, if there is no pump ups on the intercoastal side, during the brief time, as you put it, for king tides, and there may be water there for a couple hours, there are still bicycle riders and there are still pedestrians walking at the south end of town. And if the road is flooded, or the walkway is flooded, or the bicycle lanes are flooded, they walk in the road. And that creates a problem, especially since we're losing a foot of driving lanes on either side.
Yeah, our design is such that there will be no flooding on the travel lanes. There's going to be some minimal flooding along the seawall, since the water has nowhere to go, but the intent of our design is to raise it, monopitch it, in other words, slant it to one direction with no water accumulation on the travel lane or the bike lanes.
Okay. Thank
you.
Actually, I think that's what she's saying. If the water is over on the sides and there's no water on the road, the people walk all the time there. They're going to walk on the road. And that's not safe.
Yeah, the water accumulation is going to be at the edge of the seawall. So I'm not sure if pedestrians would be.
No, they wouldn't do that. They'd be bike lanes.
Oh, no, bike lanes are going to be absolutely clear of water. That's part of the road. Yeah, the paved shoulders, no flood in there.
But I think that's what she's saying. Her fear is that they want to walk on the road because people hit from that problem.
Yeah, I understand. I mean, there's no sidewalk. Yeah, pedestrians are going to be using the paved shoulders. I understand that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I would like to allow City Commissioner Barbara Baldassar to speak now. Barbara?
Good evening.
Good evening.
I have a question related to the utilities. Are there any utilities currently in the lanes that need to be changed, moved, or anything, such as the fire hydrants, cables, anything?
There's going to be some impacts to maybe a couple of fire hydrants, but any utility impacts would be mainly valves that are currently on the surface of the pavement. So as we're raising the road in lifts, we're going to be adjusting the manhole cover, the valve covers on the surface of the road. So there won't be any impacts to underground utilities like sanitary mains or water mains, none of that. Thank you.
And the hydrants and everything are okay then?
I'm sorry, would you repeat that?
I said the fire hydrants wouldn't have to be raised or anything?
There will be some impacts to fire hydrants, which we are going to replace.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I don't have any more raised hands.
Okay, we will give a minute. Let's wait for a minute, and
Okay.
if we don't get any questions,
I would, I believe there's two raised hands that I believe, which is not lowered. If that is not the case, you can always, open the mics and ask them if they are complete with their question.
sure.
So, Commissioner Jane Ricer, do you have another question?
Who was that?
No, not at this time.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner, we can hear you now.
Commissioner Baldassar asked a question about the fire hydrants. If they need to be moved, is that cost taken care of by DOT?
Yeah, you're fire hydrant.
There's the utilities.
Yeah.
So no, utility relocations are responsibility of utility owners. So in this case, I think the town of Hillsborough Beach own the utilities, so it will be the town's responsibility. So we are working with town officials regarding the utility work by highway contractor agreement, where our contractor is going to work for the town, but the cost will be the town's responsibility. Thank you.
So what he's.
Okay.
I'm attempting to bring it back.
Say that again. Sorry.
I am attempting to open their mic, please. It sounded like maybe they had a second question. And their hand is still raised. Okay. Okay, we'll move forward. There's one more hand that is raised. Also asked a question previously. So, Lisa, do you have another comment or question?
Yes, this is Paul Jankowski again. I don't think I really got the question answered. The storm drainage in my location is intended on sheet flowing to the west and through my property to get to the intercoastal. Is that correct, or am I misunderstanding something?
So what we are saying is currently the stormwater flows from east to west into intracoastal, and so that is the pattern right now. We are keeping the pattern the way it is, and by raising the roadway, I think there will be less water flowing because some of the water will be retained in the soil area.
So
there will be improvement to existing conditions.
So you're gonna sheet flow across certain lands along that raise of the road and going into the coastal on private property? Does FDOT have the ability or the right to do that?
That's current patterns, drainage patterns currently. I mean, there's,
What about erosion and killing of landscaping? What if I built a wall in front of that roadway that would prohibit the water to sheet flow? Or someone else?
Yeah, the historical runoff pattern is something that has to be preserved by downstream property, what we also know as drainage law. So any property like at this time, there are properties that are getting water from higher land that will have to keep so what we are doing right now is improving what is existing right now. So, at the end of this construction, the flow that you see will be better than what it is today, based on our analysis by our drainage expert here.
But does it make more sense to put a drainage system in with a lift station?
The reason it is difficult or not possible there is because of limited right-of-way. We don't own the property on the west side where we put the pipe underneath. So, and the most important thing is the solution that we have proposed is going to improve what is existing there. So we don't want to add construction time or duration or cost or anything to get to the solution that we can achieve without doing that based on the design right now.
So again, I just want to clarify. You're going to design a drainage system that is going to sheet flow in certain areas to the intercoastal through private property. My last question.
Yes, that is how the current drainage system is working today, and we are mimicking existing drainage pattern.
Heavy rains, it's going to flow east too, into those swales, kill all that landscaping for us, and it's going to come from the north, come down. It's just going to be, I don't know. It's going to kill landscaping. If there's heavy rains, it's just going to flow off the roads and
how are we going to maintain, and who's going to be responsible, as you said, which I still have a problem with, flap gates. If someone doesn't maintain a flap gate, the road's flooded. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Okay, it looks like I have to talk about too many things. Some of them are not my direct responsibility, so I will appreciate if I say something wrong, the department or the juvenile that correct me. This project is maintaining the existing drainage pattern. What is the condition today? When you have a heavy rainfall, runoff from the east side overtops the roadway and in some way goes to the intercoastal. As per what I saw from the survey we have, most of the runoff, and I'm talking about the critical segment that we are rising now, runoff mainly flows longitudinally up to some places where it outfalls to the intracoastal. I didn't see any evidence in the survey that it was going through any property, but I could be wrong. No, it's something that I have to go there when it's raining and check. Regarding solution at the seawall, it's my understanding that the department has some legal limitation to work outside the right of way or to do any work in something that was designed and built and owned by others. No, that is a legal issue that I'm not familiar with that, but I don't think that the department can go over there and just say, we are going to install floodgate, we are going to remove a portion of the seawall. I don't think that the department can do that. So to just repeat, currently the runoff from the east overtops the roadway and run longitudinally up to the outfall. We are keeping exactly the same condition.
Well, I think the FDOT has to maintain and design his stormwater so it flows not across private property. I don't know, there's an easement of some substance that I don't know. I'm confused on that. That's all I really have to say. I'm not trying to be unreasonable, but I own property I paid a lot of money for, and you're using me as a drainage system. I don't think that's right or fair.
And that's not only for sea level rise or king tide. It's severe thunderstorms. It's a bad situation for us southern people.
What we can do is, you should have my email address with you. If you could email your property address, what we will do is we'll look at our design and existing survey and get back to you and have a separate meeting with you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I have no further questions in the chat.
No?
No.
Okay. Cindy, could you go to slide number 33? We want to thank everyone who came here in person and who logged in from your home and joined in today. This concludes our presentation for public information meeting. What we would like to also say is that August 11, the date that you saw, is only for if you want your comment to be published in our document, but you can always contact us during design, during construction. DOT is here always ready to answer any question that you may have. Some of the questions that you are thinking right now, you can always email us back and we'll try to get those answered as well. You can click on the same link in next few days, where you will be able to watch the whole entire presentation again. We are also going to post this on our website. So thank you again. Thank you for attending.